We all have an inner child. Our inner child is our part of ourself that was hurt, was wounded. It basically is the part that remembers the hurtful things of growing up, the times that our parents didn't respond in a loving, caring way, or a favorite aunt or uncle maybe teased us or embarrassed us or made us feel ashamed of something. Sometimes our inner child carries a lot of pain, a lot of grief. For some people, growing up was just a day-to-day struggle. There was chaos, there was abuse, there were all kinds of neglect and things happening to that child. When that child grows up, there's an idea in society that you kind of get over it. You adjust, right? Maybe your parents got divorced and you heard other relatives say, you'll get over it. You know, it's part of growing up. Or you might have gotten really bullied and the people around you, closest to you, oh yeah, that happened to me. I mean, everybody gets bullied. You can't get through school without getting bullied. Well, nobody knows you and nobody understands your heart and soul the way you do, the way you feel it. And so it's important, first of all, to validate yourself for feeling these things. But sometimes if we carry our wounded self into relationships and we expect our partner to heal that, we're going to be really disappointed because you can't just open up and lay that stuff on someone. You can't just expect somebody else to carry that baggage that you've never personally resolved or gotten help with. So how do you know that some of the fights you guys have or some of the arguments you have or when your partner goes, you're so sensitive, like what's up with you? How do you know if it's your inner child or if this is normal and this partner is just not loving? Well, I've got some ideas, some ways that you know if your inner child is really untamed or if it needs help resolving some of this stuff. And the issues that come in your relationship that stem from inner child, unless you go to get help with a therapist or you resolve it, it won't go away. It's just going to continue to flare up in your relationship. So here are some indicators. You're suspicious. You're always doubtful, insecure, jealous. You fear rejection, abandonment. That's probably the most classic one and the biggest one that I see in my office. You attack your partner verbally or maybe even physically you strike out at them. This is a clear indicator that there was probably abuse in your family and perhaps you were even abused. Anger and resentment, too much of it when your needs aren't met and you somehow expect your partner to handle all these needs and you shouldn't have to tell them, they should know. This is not only magical thinking, but this is an inner child that wanted healing from their parents but wasn't secure or able to express what they needed when they were small. Expectations of your partner's ability to read your mind. Repeated squabbling about the same issues because underlying reasons from the past haven't been exposed or cleaned up. You need to be right. A strong need to control and be right is a big indicator of inner child work. And just telling your therapist that I have every one of these indicators and I think I need help with my inner child, they'll know exactly the area to go into and target. Playing the caretaker or victim or martyr and setting up a power imbalance in your relationship is another indicator that there's some inner child trauma or work that has been unresolved that needs to be done. Any kind of blaming or neglecting your own feelings and needs. Putting someone else's needs before yours all the time. Like that means you get zero self-care, zero time. Everybody else is getting more. An obsession with being in a relationship. It's part of your identity, or even maybe you feel like your life depends on it. Resentment of your partner's other interests, hobbies, or friends. Once again, this is part of that jealousy, that suspiciousness. That's a broken, a wounded inner child. A pressure to have sex, emotional distance. If you feel like you need distance, like you're going to get swallowed up in the relationship, that's another indicator of a of basically inner child work and overspending or maybe getting into debt. Something happened in your family of origin that you were never able to feel like you'd have enough. There might be a scarcity theory, might be much deeper than that. And you certainly should explore it with a therapist. So how do you get over it? How can you work on it? Okay, once again, let me say, I think for inner child work, the best possible treatment of all is working with a therapist in accordance and via with a therapist. Then I think you can do these practices and it's really going to help you work on it. Become aware of your inner child's critic, the existence of them, and promise, make a promise, I hear you and I'm going to help you deal with your needs. And you also have to remind your inner child that they're not a child anymore. And although their behaviors protected you when you were small, they're no longer going to protect you now because you're an adult. You're in a different place. And you have to embrace, encourage the inner child to allow you now, the parent, to take over and help nurture that small kid inside you that didn't get the needs met that you needed. I think it's important that you establish by discussion and agreement that both of you will say and show one another the ways you want to give and to give love and to feel love from your partner. I think when you're able to tell your partner that, that's really going to help. And also that your partner understands, and be clear about this, that this is your inner child, the brokenness of you, and you've laid too much on your partner for them to possibly handle, and you're sorry for that. But at the same time, you need to work together maybe to help heal this inner child. When your partner seems engaged and they understand that you're going to get help with this, then I think inviting your partner to help you go back and, validate what this small kid felt and tell your partner the feeling. And then from there, you'll be able to say, I think what they need to hear is it was okay, that I wasn't responsible. And many times your partner's going to be really good at that because they'll validate, you should have been scared. You shouldn't have been left alone. When you needed something, when you were getting bullied, your parent should have stepped in. That wasn't right. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. These kinds of things are incredibly healing. But once again, your partner alone cannot heal you. And it's going to be hard for you to heal you without the help of a therapist.